Hey there, welcome back to the channel. I am going to reintroduce in this video more concepts of motherism and how it looks different on gender nuanced people and men and women, and how we all have our different godhead. Motherism, going back to the very beginning, is the concept that there is something greater that is growing you. There is something greater that is committed to your growth. We see this in the concept of motherhood. We see this in the concept of Mother Nature. We see this in the concept of family formation, community formation, and culture. And so this is how we ultimately interpret the Trinity, right? From a Christian theological perspective, that we believe in God the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit, who would ultimately be Yahweh, Daddy God, who had Christ the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, the Holy Spirit is the inner essence of who Christ was, revealing his inner divinity. So this human condition component is ultimately from the perspective of how Hannah Arendt, shout out to Hannah Arendt, how she ultimately interpreted the concept of divinity within the human experience, right? That we are both human and divine. This is another dialectic that emerges within the Garden of Eden, because Yahweh was both divine as the supreme being, but ultimately had very humanistic components, very ecologically tethered to the earth. So this is what the Holy Spirit represents, that form of divinity of the person. Now, this is God as Daddy God, the Good Shepherd. Now, God as a mother exists over here. You have the mother, the child, and the Holy Spirit. So you have the Divine Mother, La Virgen de la Guadalupe. You have the Divine Mother for African spirituality, it's Yemayao Lokun. And then you have the child, right, which is the Madonna and the human condition. Now, for women, a woman is going to ultimately be in both places, right? That you as a woman down here, just like Hagar, you have Madonnas that you look to. These are the women in your life who show up as your mother, your spiritual mother, the women in your family. But you as a woman in and of yourself are also here too, because you got them babies to take care of. You got them brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, and you gotta make sure that they on their right path, just like how the Madonnas in your life are on your right path. Okay? And then down here, just to show you how it works for the gay boy and the androgynous people and same-gender loving people and trans women, etc., that we, just like women, have a godhead where God is seen as a woman, the divine feminine, right? The divine mother. And the child, in this case, from the perspective of African spirituality, would be Oshumade, because that's his mama. Yemaya is his mama. And then the human condition, the divinity that emerged within the human condition of the person. So this is the archetype of John the Beloved, the archetype of the shepherd boy. So another thing that this reveals is how, as a person, you need to have a Godhead that looks like you. So as a gender nuanced person, as an androgynous person, that's who and what Oshimade represents. He represents a Christ-like figure, right? Who is the Son. And another thing that I want to point out is you have, again, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which creates a degree of wholeness, back a reflection of who Yahweh is. Because Yahweh is the union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And then when it comes down to the ontological subjectivity of the individual, you realize that Johnny B is the shepherd boy, is the good shepherd, which mirrors who Yahweh was in the Garden of Eden, which mirrors who Christ was when he shepherded the church and shepherded the flock. So all of this goes back and connects back to who God is. So the one thing that I think is ultimately interesting is that, especially within America, especially with the Christian fundamentalism that is kind of, taken over America, is that they really want us to believe in God and say that God is gonna, he's the one you need to believe in. The irony of it is that they don't really worship a God that they believe creates all people. They misinterpret the Bible, they misinterpret spirituality, and think that, well, because you're a gay person, or because you look feminine, or because you're a trans woman, your destiny in life is to just die and go to hell. That does not make any sense, and none of that is represented biblically at all. That the irony is that God is actually a Marxist. God is actually an ecological socialist, and God is growing a family. And that is the one thing in a man's life that he doesn't want to do, is grow a family. So we begin to see how this then emerges, and that degree of integrity that emerges within the lived experience of the people at the archetypal level, how that then shapes your identity of who you are as a person. And this right here, again, going back to what Maxine Green said, this element right here is just simply aesthetics education. Being able to find new modes of being, new ways of seeing, new ways of exploring different aspects of spirituality. And I hope you liked that video, and I will catch you in the next one.